This amazing story begins when Shinpei's childhood friend dies, and he goes to her funeral. While on a boat, Shinpei dreams about his childhood friend Yushio, who tells him to protect Mio, her younger sister, while on his way home to Hidegashima Island for Yushio's funeral. Shinpei wakes up, falls on a woman's breast on the boat, and gets slapped in return. Shinpei's parents died when he was a kid, and then Alan's family adopted Shinpei, and he lived with Alan and his two daughters, Yushio and Mio, until Shinpei traveled to Tokyo to study for 2 years. Anyway, Shinpei arrives at his hometown island and sees Emio welcome him while riding a bike, but she loses control, and Emio falls in the sea. After helping Emio get out of the sea, Shinpei goes to Yushio's funeral. At the funeral, Shinpei learns that they performed an autopsy on Yushio before her burial, and he meets his childhood friend Suyu. Suyu explains how Yushio drowned while rescuing a kid named Kabayawa Shiori, and that she has strangled scars on her neck. Shinpei found Emio crying in his room at night and gave him a necklace. The same necklace Shinpei gave Yushio when they were kids. Shinpei gets emotional after receiving the necklace. Later, Emio tells Shinpei that Yushio claimed to have seen a clone of herself a week before she died. The old hunter named Nezu overhears them and explains it as a shadow sickness, an illness causing a person's shadow to come alive before murdering them and their family. So they go to Haruko's shrine to cleanse themselves of illnesses. There they heard the gunshot and discover a lady who is bleeding and muttering something. Shinpei asks the lady what happened to her, and suddenly that lady's brain splatters. Shinpei turns around to see who would do this, sees Mio being held hostage by Mio's shadow, and kills Mio and Shinpei. Shinpei reawakens on the ship, slipping back into the woman's breast. Shinpei is freaked out because he should have been dead. Shinpei, on the other hand, discovers that the day has gone exactly as previously when he arrived on the island. He realized he can time travel. Shinpei gets frustrated and goes out for fresh air when he notices Mio staring at the house. She notices Tetsu and kills him right away. Shinpei shockingly watched as Mio killed Tetsu. And then a shadow appears that looks and sounds like Tetsu. Shinpei heard Mio say that she wants to kill normal Mio and then take her place. Shinpei's phone suddenly rings, alerting Shadow Mio, who immediately kills Shinpei. However, Shinpei wakes up again, but this time, instead of ship, he was at island. And he stops Mio from falling into the sea. And this time he decides to do things differently. First thing that Shinpei does is to file a fictitious police complaint to keep Tetsu away so he don't get killed by Mio, and second thing Shinpei did is to go to the place where he saw Mio killed Tetsu and hides his phone with recording on to catch Shadow Mio to show all this to real Mio. After successfully recording, Shinpei then shows the recording to the real Mio to prove that shadow sickness is real and that it is out there to murder her. Mio told Shinpei after watching the recording that it is possible that Yushiro's death was not an accident, but she was murdered by Shadow. Mio asked Shinpei to warn Shiori, but Shinpei decided to go alone. Shinpei pays visit to Shiori's house at Mio's request, where a lady appears and tells Shinpei Shiori's parents haven't been answering all day. Shinpei and the lady break into Shiori's house after entering the family's house. Shinpei discovers human figure marks all over the living room. And Shinpei knows those marks came from the shadow disposing of the body. There are also random dents on the floor. Shinpei goes upstairs to find more information and a shadow appears in front of him, and it is the shadow of little girl Shiori, who is about to attack Shinpei. The lady walks in and the shadow vanishes. Shinpei decides to ask around for the woman on the boat. He experiences deja vu when he mentions her massive breasts to a cafe owner, according to the man. She visited the cafe yesterday night but did not stay. Later, Tetsu gives Shinpei Ashio's phone, saying that she came to him and told him to give it to Shinpei if anything happens to her. Suyo arrives at cafe and Shin then explains to Suo and Mio everything he knows about the shadows, so they all decide to meet again at the Hito Summer Festival. At Festival, Shinpei discovers Suyo has a crush on Mio. Suddenly, Shinpei sees a glimpse of Yushio and runs after her. He keeps chasing Yushio to the beach and caught up to her to the shore where she is watching the fireworks. Shinpei is surprised seeing Yushio alive, and Yushio runs towards the Shinpei to hug him, and she claims she is the real Yushio and she didn't die. But later, Yushio recalls that she is dead and said to Shinpei that she is here because she wants to tell him that she loves him and wants to go to the festival with him. Shinpei asks Yushio that she should be remained hidden because everyone thinks she is dead. At festival, Suyo unexpectedly proposed Miyo, but she rejected him. Shinpei goes to the festival alone to meet with his friend, ask Yushio to stay hidden. But Yushio comes out in front of everyone, and everyone is surprised looking at Yushio because they know she is dead and now she is a shadow. And suddenly, Shinpei holds Yushio's arm. Break it. It seems like Shinpei is Shadow too, and the real Shinpei is getting beaten by Shadow Miyo. Suddenly, Shadow Miyo is then shot twice in the head by the lady from the boat. She aims for the Shadow Miyo and then kills Shadow Miyo. The savior introduces herself as Nagumo Rinosuke, who is also Shinpei's favorite novelist. Nagumo Rinosuke tells Shin that to distinguish a shadow from a human. Shinpei remembers all his friends are at the temple, so he rushed towards the temple, and when he arrived, he sees everyone has been killed by Giant Shadow, and he notices Shadow Suyo killed Suyo and Suyo died protecting Miyo. Nagumo also arrives at the temple and fights the Giant Shadow, and the Giant Shadow wounded Nagumo. At this time, everyone is dead, and Giant Shadow recognizes Shinpei's eye as the same as their mother, which he uses to control time. As their mother wakes, a blood-red light shines over the shrine, revealing a young girl who appeared in the sky and is known as Haina. She slaughtered the island. Now the island looks like a deserted island where there used to be humans, but now it's empty and full of horrors. Shinpei then begs Nagumo to kill him so he can begin again now that everyone has died. Nagumo successfully kills Shinpei. After dying, Shinpei looks at the Haina and she looks at him back, which scares Shinpei because he is dead and she can still see him. However, Shinpei travels back in time, where Yushio urges him in his dream to save Miyo once more. On his first day back, he notices that the distances he can travel are gradually shrinking, but he is determined to do it correctly this time, with only 3 days until Mother's Day. Shinpei starts looking for Nagumo and eventually gets the number from Yushio's father Alan, but the number Naguro gave Alan was coded, and finally Shinpei breaks the code and calls phone number, but Nezu picks it up and asks Shinpei to get to the open place. When Shinpei gets to the open place, Nezu shoots at the Shinpei's shadow to make sure that if he is a human or shadow, and it turns out Shinpei is a human. On the other side, Nagumo attacks Alan in the bathroom to check if he is human, and she ends up instantly killing Shadow Alan. When Shinpei meets Nezu, he gains his trust and is introduced to Nagumo. Shinpei is able to relay key things to Nagumo via coded references, allowing her to quickly recognize Shinpei as a time traveler who has met her in the future and as someone her future self trusted. Shinpei sobs as he realizes he has finally found an ally who knows everything. Nagumo informs Shinpei that someone murdered her family 14 years ago, prompting her to abandon the island and change her identity and subsequently write a series of novels about tragedy. Nagumo decides to go to Shiori's house to eliminate the shadows. However, she tells Shinpei and Nezu to wait outside for her, but Shinpei is worried that Nagumo might get killed if she goes alone. But Nezu tells Shinpei that Nagumo has the ability to sense the danger before it happens, and because of that, she can change the outcome. Nagumo reaches to the Shiori's house and knocks the door. Shiori's mother opens the door and Nagumo gets in with her briefcase. Nagumo opens the briefcase and attacks the Shiori's mother and eventually kills her, because they all are shadows and real ones have been killed by these shadows. Shiori's father turns into a shadow in his real form in order to kill Nagumo, but Nagumo kills him as well. After seeing this, Shadow Shiori attacked the Nagumo as well. It turns out Shiori is much stronger shadow than others. She tried to kill Nagumo, but Nagumo overpowers her and Shiori runs away. Nezu and Shinpei await him outside, and when they saw Shiori, Nezu tries to capture her, but she keeps dodges his attacks. Shinpei is hiding behind the board when Shadow Shiori come close. Shin tackles and capture her. When Shin was tried to control her, she bites Shin's hands. Nagumo kills Shadow Shiori, but Shinpei's hand is bleeding because of the bite. The bite is not random. Shiori must have a reason. That is why she bites Shinpei's hand. Stay tuned to find out the reason.